In this video, we're exploring 3 essential methods for resolving workplace disputes: conciliation, mediation, and arbitration. If you work in HR or you're studying employment relations, understanding these approaches is absolutely crucial. They appear constantly in workplace conflict situations and in CIPD assignments. Many people confuse these methods or use them interchangeably, but they're actually quite different. Let's break down each one and explore when you'd use each approach. Third-party dispute resolution simply means bringing in someone from outside the immediate conflict to help resolve things between people who can't sort it out themselves. In employment relations, that external person or organization helps resolve disputes between employers and employees, or between organizations and trade unions. The 3 main methods work in very different ways. Conciliation helps parties settle by facilitating communication. Mediation helps parties reach their own agreement with neutral guidance. And arbitration involves an independent person making a binding decision for them. Each serves a specific purpose, and choosing the right one can make all the difference. Let's start with conciliation. Conciliation is a voluntary process where an independent third party acts as a go-between, helping the disputing parties communicate and explore settlement options. In the UK, ACAS, the Advisory, Conciliation and Arbitration Service, is the main provider of conciliation services. A conciliator typically meets with each party separately, rather than bringing them together, explaining the legal position to both sides, helping them understand each other's perspective, exploring areas of agreement, and suggesting possible settlement terms. Conciliation has some key characteristics worth understanding. It's entirely voluntary. Both parties must choose to participate. The conciliator can't impose a solution, so it's non-binding. Discussions in conciliation are confidential and cannot be used as evidence in a tribunal. ACAS conciliation is provided completely free of charge, and the conciliator remains impartial throughout. You'll see conciliation most commonly used in employment tribunal claims, where ACAS offers early conciliation as a mandatory step before formal proceedings begin, giving parties a chance to settle without going to tribunal. Conciliation works particularly well in several situations. If there's a legal dispute heading towards tribunal, both parties want to avoid tribunal costs and stress. The employment relationship has ended or will end, or parties need help understanding their legal positions. Conciliation is your go-to approach. It's effective when settlement is still possible, even though the relationship may have broken down. Think of conciliation as the method for getting parties to find common ground before legal proceedings begin. Now let's look at mediation. Mediation is a structured process where a neutral third party, called the mediator, helps disputing parties work together to reach their own solution. Unlike conciliation, mediation typically brings parties together in the same room or in a virtual space if remote. A mediator facilitates discussion rather than providing solutions, usually starting with opening statements from each party, moving into joint discussions to identify the real issues, then private sessions with each party, and finally negotiation towards a mutually acceptable agreement that gets documented. Mediation has distinctly different characteristics from conciliation. Like conciliation, participation and any agreement are entirely voluntary, but mediation is specifically facilitative. The mediator guides the process, not the outcome. Discussions remain confidential and private. Crucially, the disputing parties control the solution, not the mediator. It's party-led throughout. The whole approach is future-focused, emphasizing moving forward rather than dwelling on blame or determining who was right or wrong. Mediation works best when the working relationship needs to continue. You'd use mediation for interpersonal conflicts between colleagues, disputes between managers and team members, bullying and harassment complaints where appropriate, team conflicts affecting productivity, or grievances where you genuinely believe the relationship can be preserved. Many organizations now use internal mediation schemes or bring in external workplace mediators before conflicts escalate to formal procedures. It's about keeping people working together, not ending relationships. So arbitration is different from both conciliation and mediation. Arbitration is a formal process where an independent third party, the arbitrator, hears evidence from both sides and makes a binding decision. It's the most formal of the three methods and closely resembles a legal proceeding. The arbitration process involves both parties presenting their cases formally, submitting evidence and documentation, potentially calling witnesses, with the arbitrator considering all evidence before issuing a binding decision called an award. Arbitration's key characteristics make it fundamentally different as the arbitrator's decision is binding. It must be followed by both parties. The process is formal and structured, with clear rules of procedure, and the decision is final with only limited grounds for appeal. The arbitrator is determinative. They decide the outcome rather than facilitating agreement. It's adjudicative, meaning it operates similarly to a court or tribunal hearing. You'll typically see arbitration used when other resolution methods have failed, parties cannot reach agreement themselves. A definitive binding outcome is needed. Collective disputes between unions and employers arise, or as an alternative to employment tribunal. ACAS offers an arbitration scheme for unfair dismissal and flexible working claims. So when should you recommend which method? Here's the practical guidance. Choose conciliation when a legal claim has been or may be raised. You want to avoid tribunal costs and publicity. The employment relationship has ended or will end, or ACAS early conciliation is required before tribunal. Choose mediation when the working relationship needs to continue, both parties are willing to engage constructively, the dispute is about relationships rather than legal rights, early intervention could prevent escalation, or internal resolution has stalled, but formal procedures seem excessive. Choose arbitration when mediation or conciliation has failed, a binding decision is absolutely necessary. Collective bargaining has reached impasse. Parties prefer a private alternative to tribunal, or complex legal or contractual issues need determination. As an HR professional, you're often the first point of contact when workplace disputes arise, and understanding these methods helps you advise managers on intervention strategies, guide employees towards suitable options, design policies incorporating early resolution mechanisms, reduce costs by resolving disputes before escalation, and preserve relationships through appropriate early intervention. Many organizations now include mediation clauses in contracts and grievance procedures as standard. Now, if you're looking at this information for the purpose of writing a CIPD assignment, you'd really benefit from exploring People Study Pro. It's an application specifically designed to support CIPD students with assignment writing, offering intelligent guidance for each question, an AI and plagiarism checker, a Harvard referencing generator, note-taking tools, and crucially, learning material for every single assessment criteria across every single CIPD unit. So when your assignment asks you to distinguish between these methods or apply them to workplace scenarios, you'll have assessment-focused content explaining what assessors expect, how to structure your answers for maximum marks, key theories and models to reference, and practical examples to demonstrate real application. So here's the bottom line. Conciliation helps parties settle, particularly in legal disputes heading to tribunal. Mediation helps parties reach their own agreement while preserving ongoing relationships, and arbitration provides a binding decision when agreement cannot be reached. For HR professionals and CIPD students alike, understanding when to recommend each method and being able to explain the differences clearly is absolutely fundamental to effective employment relations practice. These three approaches form the core of your dispute resolution toolkit.